Hello to everyone. On Sunday, during the MARUF program, we are together with you. We have esteemed guests in our session, and the heading is the garbage waste management and life without waste. We have a 10-minute delay connected to other programs, therefore I won't go on for too long. Now we'll present our first speaker, Professor Dr. Nilgün Kur'an-Julius. She's a instruction staff from the Bosphorus University. She studied as a doctorate thesis in Scotland, and she completed at the Bosphorus Environmental Science Institute. She's a full-time instructor, continuing her career. Nilgün has some, especially in clean manufacturing. She's the first clean certificate production, and within the organism of the Bosphorus University, she's a member of the research center. She is working in many areas: the environmental impact and life cycle assessment. She will touch upon these subjects in her speech. She's also working on manufacturing T-shirts. The UN Development Program, she's been awarded the National Success and the Presidential Award also. Professor Nilgün, about the creation of waste prevention, and she's a member of the board of the agency that she's working at. Thank you very much, Sami Hanım, for your introduction. I would like to congratulate the entire MARUF team and thank them. My presentation talk about is the assessment of environmental impact and waste management with the value chain analysis method. When we look at the creation of global wastes in the world, according to 2016 records, there is 2 billion tons of solid waste. About 16% of the population is responsible for 34% of waste creation, and poor population is responsible for 40%. Until 2030, after examining the creation of waste, I'm trying to place targets, but if it goes like this, we will have 2.59 billion tons of waste, and on 2050 this will reach 3.5 billion tons. Especially the European Union has important enterprises in this subject, but our main target is for waste not to be created, and waste management issues come, as you see in the waste management. When you look at all these waste, packaging and food waste, we call them green waste, and we come to 35–40%. The EU is focusing on this seriously, and they've placed serious major targets. In Turkey, this is a sadder way. In the EU, there is a storage area, but some have savage storage about the collecting of the methane gas, and there are some problematic storage areas. These are reaching up to 70%. Compost production has been increasing up to 6%. We are reducing burning, and recycling is increasing up to 15–20%. In Germany, in the UK, this is reaching 20%. I would like to talk about circular economy, because the EU has major targets for waste management with the green. This was announced with the green agreement, because our exports to the EU is increasing to 50%, 70% in some sectors. This is our trade, and it's important in terms of our waste management. The EU, especially in packaging waste, it is reducing since 2018, 2019. They had a reduction in waste creation. Naturally, within this green agreement, there is a wide content. Packaging wastes are focused on in clean industry, and where transportation can be achieved with renewable energy and the sustainability and energy supply and the climate change plans. Circular economy documents have been built into the green agreement, along with the packaging, textiles, cement, iron, steel industry are taking place. Also, electronic wastes are being welded. When we look at green agreement, the circular economy document, when we examine it, the EU says, I'm going to reduce by 30%. And they're going to be reducing it by 50%. This is a very serious target. Also, our waste that go to storage will be reduced by 10%. Along with this, regarding recycling and reuse, there are some targets for 2025, 2030. These will go all the way from 65 to 60%. Turkey has targets for 2023. Our waste that go to storage areas will be reduced. We are going to reduce it down to 65%. And thermal processes cannot be cancelled. We are going to increase them up to 8%, but 35% we will have recycling. We have a 14-15% collecting as possible in recycling. But productive cannot be increasing to more than 4%, so that the environmental agency has an important role here. But waste segregation is very important to increase efficiency, especially this deposit directive to come in 2022. We need to be successful. These are wastes that we consider recycling. We have some special wastes and some rubbles or hazardous wastes. Those are also have significant shares within all these parts. When we look at sustainable development goals, solid waste is included in all of them. But within sustainable consumption and production, we have some major sanctions. There are various indicators, but within these indicators, there is a 12.5 accepted by OECD. Here, the national recycling ratio and the amounts of materials that are recycled should be declared every year regularly. From industrial waste recycling methods, and we will go to industrial symbiosis. When we look at industrial waste, we are always saying in Istanbul there is 1 to 1.5 kilogram per capita is produced. This is for household waste. When you look at industrial waste throughout Turkey, 12.5 kilograms per capita can be outputted. Also agricultural waste, we should look at the entire waste and not just household wastes per capita. The life cycle work, the issue that we need to pay attention is from cradle to the grave. What's important is in the raw materials supply to production, distribution, consumption, and elimination. All of these phases, industrial symbiote, circular economy, green agreement criteria should be met, and the green agreement action plan has been published. Life cycle assessment is the second item here. As you can see on the screen, during this assessment of life cycle, what we will consider, there is a stakeholder analysis. Suppliers, producers, and consumers, all of them should function together for sustainable production and consumption. We need a footprint. Could be carbon, chemical footprint, ecological footprint on a basis of products, services, and a person. The average Turkish person should be calculated. There are various indicators, and the indicators in the purpose of development should provide us a facility. We can have eco-design criteria. Producer companies, after completing this concept of creative design, can the product be repaired or shared, or can it be leased? For example, you can think of a student house, rather than purchasing a laundry machine, a washing machine, they can lease one, and repair procedures should be done by informing the consumer so that the product doesn't go to the service, but the consumer should be able to repair or read prospectuses. The life cycle study, our cyclical economic criteria should overlap. The cycling economy is that waste is not created and should be regained by the system. The life cycle steps from raw material supply to production, use, and for recycling. A very major transport application. And with the recycling process, this should be seriously, every recycling process may not always be suitable. We need to think about this. Our food wastes, for this, we should definitely not burn them. This is also indicated in the green, obtaining biogas, and also composting according to standards. Along with the standards, we understand that for everything that we produce, whether it's package or product or service, we must conform to standards. Otherwise, we cannot run the commerce or prove that it can be sustainable throughout the life. The eco-label is coming up. The eco-label is a volunteering implementations. There are some directives sectorally. I think there are 5 or 6 of them. These eco-labels, their utilization has to do with the product's sustainability and its trade and the consumer's trust for this product. When we go to packaging, I'm going to be focused on packaging because packaging waste is a very serious problem in cities, and recycling is going up to 38 to 40%. Packaging for us, as you know, it's plastic, aluminum, metal, glass, and paper. Regarding these packagings, we have lots of directives, and these directives are still harmonious with environmental labels, waste management, zero waste, recycling, package waste. These are all a package. Our problem is that they cannot be collected, separated at the source, and that registration procedures are weak in local governments. The scope of our regulations are very strict, but there's too many violations. When we go to packaging, the package must conform to European Union standards if we want to export it. But here, the product inside it has some hygienic criteria and amount of product and the ratio between the product and the package must be suitable. When the product is taken out of the package, how many percent can be wasted? These are all known. It's not possible to have a low quality package. Hygiene is very important. When this comes in, the Ministry of Health directive comes in. They also take place in our country. Second and third packaging are very important. We call the third packaging left in supermarkets. Secondary packaging, whether it's necessary. When you buy toothpaste, hygiene is important, but if there's a secondary package, like a cardboard box, there you need to have a special service. When we look at life cycle environmental impact assessment, from the supply of polymers or glass materials, after the product's shelf life is finished, when this is all considered, when you look at the inputs and outputs, the climate change, water usage, toxic effects, eutrophication and acidifications, human health, resource consumption, we should talk about 3 points. When we say human health and resource consumptions and the protection of the ecosystem, we look at global warming. It can be expressed as carbon dioxide emissions. We can calculate many different types of emissions. We express it as carbon dioxide, acidification, eutrophication, and land, aquatic toxicities, and resource consumption. All these are expressed with various units, and from cradle to grave, these are analyzed. And for example, if we take one glass bottle, a colorless glass bottle, we look at it, and the raw material and the production, the recycling after usage, and all these transportations, what type of emissions would be caused if it went into the storage area. The biggest effect is coming from production, and then recycling follows this. And in the transport, there are some important effects. When we look at a glass product, we need some innovation in the production. We need to have clean production, and the recycling must definitely be increased. This green bottle, if we look at amber or green soda bottles, it should provide the same service for comparing. When we assess it, as you can see, even the color has impact on the life cycle effects, the recycling of broken glass, transportation from consumption to the recycling facilities of broken glass. All of these stages should be considered, and the carbon dioxide, methane emissions, or dust emissions, all of them have different effects. And this means that if we do eco-design of our products, they should be assessed according to. Again, here our master student compared plastic and glass bottle, and their weights, the quantity that can be transported in a truck are different. Some interesting results came out. Looking at global warming, the glass recycling have caused more global warming than plastic bottles. The glass products are more negative compared to PET bottles. Our pollution ladder, I just wanted to show that eco-design is at the very top. And again, when we look at milk, the entire consumer side, I wanted to talk about the deficiencies. Those are in purple, provide information about how we should manage the packaging in the life of a milk bottle is pasteurization, the obtaining of the raw milk, and the management of the packaging has to do with the ozone layer and many other effects. The packaging, when examining the milk consumption, we cannot ignore it. In the same way, for paper packaging and plastics, when you compare them, paper has some advantages. There's another study. Different plastic wastes affect. For example, the shampoo bottles are polyethylene, but polystyrene is in food. Here, recycling or obtaining chemicals or burning or is sent to the storage areas, we see that which plastic waste is more suitable. I want to say, in a very special way, we need to examine the management of waste. We cannot do a generalization. This production is suitable for polyethylene, paper, or glass. We need to think of them regionally, and with the Green Agreement, they should be overlapped. Thank you very much. I hope I was on time.
Exactly. You have pointed out a very important issue, really. Central governments are actually, during the supporting processes, should take into account all of these studies, because they're all material-based type of researches and also local-based type of researches, and the value chain analysis and the, of course, life cycle analysis taken into account and should be decided upon them. Now I would like to pass to our next speaker. He's from Scotland. Zero Waste Scotland, Ian Galland. Zero waste in Scotland. And it's a very important issue, and it's the only unique country in Europe, as far as we know, who is taking it as the zero waste name. And from our ministry, in our studies, we have made use of Scotland examples a lot. Documentation is very efficient in Scotland because all of the technical guidelines and documents are present, and they are sharing it on their website, and it's being really so much inspiring and very beneficial and contributing our studies a lot. Zero Waste Scotland is a collaboration of a European Regional Development Fund and Scotland government are making use of this fund. Ian Galland is, of course, focusing on recycling systems, as far as I know. And after saying this, in 2000 until 2008 in Scotland, there was a network, a community recycling network, and he has led that group, as far as I know. And Zero Waste Scotland. He's now Zero Waste Scotland CEO, and he has got another title, ACR Plus Sustainability Resource Management Union. For 25 years, this institution is actively working with civil society organizations, academia, and private sector representatives and consultancy services, and it's a common sharing platform. ACR Plus, during the COVID time and the waste management, have had very good incentives to good shares to be shared. And we have taken also inspiration from those two examples a lot. Mr. Galland, on the other side, is has been awarded by Resource Magazine for his activities, effectiveness in the waste management in Scotland. In 2016, Chartered Institute of Waste Management has given him a scholarship. We are very glad to host him. The floor is yours.
I'm live. Thank you. It's great to be here. Great to be here to be able to participate in your event. As I said before, I'm very sorry that I'm not there in person. So certainly greetings from Scotland. I shall share my screen now. I'd like to show some slides, if I may. Hopefully it works. Hopefully everybody can see those. Yes? So I just, by way of introduction, I'm not going to play a tune. I'm just going to introduce Airway Scotland, although thank you very much for the introduction. So Airway Scotland is, we are Scotland's circular economy experts. We're fully funded by the Scottish Government, and we also have funding from the European Union as well. Our job is very much to help accelerate the idea of the circular economy here in Scotland through evidence and research. I was very interested to hear the previous presentation. So a lot of that type of research that we carry out as well on behalf of the Scottish Government and other actors. But we also provide funding and investment to demonstrate the art of the possible in terms of the circular economy and some of the new businesses and opportunities that we are now beginning to see in Scotland. Just for context, we have Zero Waste Scotland is about 170 employees with an annual budget of about 25 million euros. If that gives you a sense of size, we work with all sectors and, as I said, identifying many opportunities. It's all about using our resources more sustainably. Yes, increasing recycling, but also reducing the demand for raw materials in Scotland and creating more opportunities through job creation, etc., through the production cycle, again, highlighted by the previous speaker. So just a bit of context. So 4/5 of Scotland's carbon footprint comes from the products and materials we consume, which is clearly a massive impact. So recent report that we did during the summer, for every person in Scotland, that's about 18.4 tonnes of materials per person per year we are consuming as a nation. So clearly that's unsustainable. In fact, scientists would suggest that the more sustainable measure is about 8 tonnes per person per year. So Scotland is clearly consuming double what we should be consuming. So clearly that is obviously a massive contribution, all of us, if we're consuming at that level, to the climate emergency, but not forgetting other emergencies that have been discussed already, the biodiversity crisis and also the crisis of inequality that we have, not just in Scotland, but globally as well. So we see an answer to this through the circular economy, which is clearly good for the climate. We believe shifting to a circular economy in Scotland could reduce our emissions in Scotland by about 25% over the next 20 odd years. We also recognise that globally 90% of biodiversity loss and water stress comes from the extraction of raw materials for our products and stuff that we consume. So clearly the circular economy would benefit from reducing the pressure on habitats if we weren't needing to extract so many materials. But clearly, the circular economy for us offers huge job opportunities, social advancement, good jobs, not jobs at the end of the pipe cleaning up other people's rubbish, but within the system in terms of remanufacturing and repurposing materials back into the economy. So we're very interested in all aspects of the circular economy, from how do we return biological materials back into the ecosystem, how do we create more reuse and repair? How do we create more hire and leasing models for stuff? So we are reducing, as I've said, the demand for materials both within Scotland but also within the global context. So the Scottish Government launched a strategy called Make Things Last in 2016, which basically set out not just the ambitions around the circular economy for Scotland in terms of the opportunities, but how do we actually deliver them? So quite a significant partnership was developed across a number of government agencies and sectors to look at the opportunities and also to start to work through those opportunities, working with key sectors. Clearly, food and drink is a top priority for us, but also the decommissioning of the oil and gas infrastructure in the North Sea. What are the opportunities there for reuse, remanufacturing and repurposing of some of the assets that are coming in off the North Sea? Clearly renewables as well. So like all countries, we're investing significantly in renewable infrastructure, whether that's wind turbines or heat pumps or electric vehicles. But how are we actually manufacturing? What materials are we using for that infrastructure? And how can we design that infrastructure so we can not just decommission it at the end of life, but actually repurpose it, reuse it, redeploy it into other aspects of our economy? So that's been a real focus for us. A number of bits of the programme that we run on behalf of the Scottish Government. So we're investing, as I've said, in individual companies To date, we've worked with over 250 individual companies on switching to a more circular business model. Some of that is about direct one-to-one support, and some of that is actually investment. Cities and regions is very interesting for us. So very early stage, although we work traditionally with sectors, we are very mindful that there are huge opportunities within the cities and regions of Scotland for circular economy advancement. So that's about looking at all aspects of their economy, but more importantly, understanding how the flow of materials, whether that's waste or resources, are both coming into those areas and going out. And they're all very different in terms of their economy, so it's about working on what's relevant for them, and also working with strategic partnerships like chambers of commerce or the actual city municipality to actually get down into the communities and down into the individual businesses and create those opportunities. So we led with some work in Glasgow, to the point where they developed their own circular economy strategy as a city, and we're now rolling that out in other parts of Scotland, including the North East, where the oil and gas is, Edinburgh, the capital city, where there's lots of opportunities around festivals and IT, digital applications, but as well as the cities, we're also looking at a regional opportunity in the Highlands and Islands, where obviously the geography is very distinct and the communities are very spread out. But we do believe that even within that environment, there are significant circular opportunities, both to reduce the demand for resources, reduce transportation potentially, but also increase job and social opportunities as well. Here's just a couple of companies we've been working with. This is a light manufacturing company who has shifted his business from selling light fittings to actually leasing light fittings, particularly to the public sector. Again, this is all about developing a new product, but keeping the value of the electronic and the critical materials that make up the light fittings. This is a sofa for life. This is a startup company, a designer who's designed a sofa which can be readapted depending on the size of the house. It can be reused, repaired in a very low-cost manner. So it's definitely, I think somebody mentioned already, equipment for student housing and stuff like that. So this is very much designed at that end of the market. Clearly, the whisky industry is not exempt from the circular economy opportunities, particularly when we look at some of the byproducts from the industry, and there's a number of companies looking to deploy that into high-value organic ethanol for fuel, as well as high-value fertilizer to go back into land, as well as good feed for animals in the agricultural sector as well. And as I said, I think earlier, one of the aspects is to make reuse a more mainstream activity. So working with a brand called Revolve, we are creating standards across all the reuse shops in Scotland. So both creating more confidence from the public that they're getting a high standard of retail, but also a high standard of quality in the products that they are buying. So obviously we're very interested in the economic aspects of the circular economy and the utilisation of our waste. So we recognise that we're recycling a lot of materials, but over 75% of the materials we recycle in Scotland actually get exported out of Scotland. And we know that for every one job there is in the collection of materials for recycling, there's another 8 jobs in the reprocessing, repurposing, remanufacturing of those materials back into the supply chain. So absolutely, recycling is good for the environment, but sending that material out with Scotland is really exporting the job opportunities for our local communities. So we're very interested in how we can create a much more structured strategy around that. So we have quite a fragmented recycling system, depending on the different municipalities all have a different system. There's over 300 other private enterprises involved in it. So we want to bring that together to harness those local opportunities, very similar to what we've done with our renewable industry and even our water industry with the pump storage and using the water that we have in Scotland for renewable energy as well. So very much looking to focus on that. Clearly, we want to invest in reducing waste in the first place. So although our recycling rates and our waste production rates are only reducing marginally at this moment in time, the carbon impacts of our resource management through greater recycling or focusing on specific materials which have high carbon impacts has significantly increased. So we are now beginning to target, instead of targeting the tons of materials that are available for recycling, we're targeting the high value in terms of carbon. And that's using a thing called the carbon metric, which we developed a number of years ago to demonstrate, how different strategies could benefit in terms of carbon reduction. And that clearly aligns with things like reducing food waste, which is obviously a significant contributor to climate change, not just in Scotland, but globally as well. And it's always amazing me when I talk about food waste to the public that they don't recognise that food waste at home has three times the climatic impact than plastics do, whereas we're all very motivated now about doing something around plastics, and particularly single-use plastics, and quite rightly we should be doing something, but actually food waste is 3 times the climatic impact, so we should really be tackling that probably first. So using that carbon metric, so as I said, I'm the president of ACR Plus, which is a European network of cities and regions involved in sustainable resource management. So we've been working with our metric and ACR Plus to raise awareness of the need to target specific actions at local level around carbon reduction. And we've launched this campaign, More Circularity, Less Carbon, to really help people to identify the best strategies and then support them through the network to deliver them at a local level. But the real success, I believe, of ACR Plus is that it's a members network across mainly Europe. But it actually is practitioners on the ground who are actually at the front line, who are delivering the strategy or delivering strategies in local communities for the benefit of local communities and local regions. But they are willing to share those opportunities and learnings across the network as we understand some of this is very groundbreaking, what people are involved in, and it's a very healthy and supportive network, which not only supports the development of strategies, but actually the delivery of strategies in the first place. So perhaps that's something we could be, talking more directly with colleagues in Turkey about how you might want to get involved in this network. But just finally, the circular economy and all of the activities we're involved in, it is about people. This is a people thing more than a sort of technical solution. This is about how people come together and collaborate across sectors and within sectors to do and take forward the opportunities, both for the benefit of individual companies, but also for the benefit of the local communities and cities and regions. But as I've said, through the ACR Plus, it's very much about sharing that knowledge. So I would very much welcome the opportunity to talk more, to answer questions on this call, but if there's any potential collaboration with people in Turkey going forward, I would love to advance that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian. Especially the examples you gave in terms of circular economy are quite interesting. Actually, I have a question. I want to share an experience. In Turkey, due to regulations, waste must be processed in licensed facilities, but their usage as a resource is possible. We have an alternative raw material application, such as cement, lime, and iron and steel. We approved their usage due to their mineral characteristics. We gave these permits without data, without any licensing. You cannot make any assessment without data. You can't see the performance or your deficiencies. We started to gather this data. I will give you the 2020 figures. 3.3 million tons of waste are used as alternative raw materials. We talked about food waste. Food is a very important sector. Here we need to definitely make a measurement or have a flow of information. We have similar applications. We have the food waste can be used in animal feed sector, and we consider them as byproducts, and we don't say they're waste, but we have no data. We cannot make an assessment. What do you think about this subject? In the assessment of circularity, how important is data collection and their analysis is important.
Data analysis is hugely important, and so some of the work, particularly on the cities and region, has been the analysis of the data that's available and creating kind of what we call city scans. So absolutely, so very visual ways of watching or actually understanding where the resources go, but also the quantities that are involved in that, and a very using obviously more digital techniques now to build that up into a model. But we need more and more data, and a lot of this is about individual companies providing that. So again, that's been the key for our cities and regions work, where this has been challenging to do at a national level. At a local level, partners are much willing to exchange and share that information. They don't see it as particularly competitive. But we have a range of data sets that we analyse. It is about knowing the data. It is about, as you say, creating the right protocols or standards. And I think that's one of the challenges for me on the circular economy, is there is a conversation here that's quite interesting and innovative around new business models and entrepreneurs being involved in it, but there's still the kind of waste regulatory regime that is very much about environmental protection, and quite rightly it should. But as we start to see how we can create more of those circles, both at a local level, even at a national level, even at an international level, I think we need to be more engaged with the likes of the environment protection agencies and thinking about how that regulatory regime can actually empower or facilitate more of this. Because in some respects it does hold back, because the information is not readily available, or environmental protection will always kind of win out, whereas we could adapt some of that systems, particularly at a local level. So that might be something we could talk about, because I think there's obviously learnings from what other countries are looking at in terms of both data capture, but also the opportunities to work more strategically on standards and protocols for waste, for using waste back into the economy.
At what level the mine wastes are in Scotland?
So coal mines we don't have coal mines. We have other types of quarries and stuff like that. And yes, that's another area in terms of resources. So we use resources from our own economy as well as from outside of Scotland to make it. And again, these are challenging. These are challenging because these are current business models that are up and running and creating jobs. So how do you change them? How do you get them to think differently about the materials that they are winning from the earth, and possibly creating climate emissions in Scotland and biodiversity laws? So there's a challenge around all of this, in terms of shifting different businesses and different sectors towards more circular approach. And depending on, I know that some countries are more dependent on mining and, from materials, we're probably not. Although, again, oil and gas is a massive player in our economy. And that is, globally, that is something that we all need to address.
I believe there are no other questions. Now I would like to talk about the studies we did in Turkey. In 2017, there was a zero waste project. Regarding zero waste in our work, we talked about implementations of different countries, but our approach was that the zero waste system, about its establishment, we did a prioritization. We have limited resources. For these reasons, until 2023, which is the 100th anniversary of our republic, we have a staged transition program on the basis of municipalities and establishments. We have a calendar of transition. As a ministry, we support our municipalities and local governments. The establishment of this system is not so easy. There are two important points. One is the habits of people to be changed. for them to segregate and collect separately their wastes. That's an important subject. We cannot provide an investment very easily, but with constant training, we are trying to support this as a ministry. Another issue is the establishment of the system on the municipal side to be collected separately, and its recycling. In zero waste, what we want to do basically is this. The next phase, which is the certification phase, has to do with waste prevention and waste mitigation. In this scope, Nilgun from Boğaziçi University will work together properly, and we created the criteria of certification, the green supply processes, to measures for reduction of waste. We want to dwell on this in the future and create a national waste management directive. Zero waste is a very high-level policy, and it's been supported. Our president's wife is supporting this project, and afterwards it entered into national plans, the 11th development plan and economy reforms in the new economic package. And finally, in September, we have a midterm program, and here the development of zero waste aimed at household individuals outside of public areas. The waste need to be collected from households in a segregated manner. This is not an easy process. We support it as the ministry. Looking at waste management in Turkey, there is a very important establishment. Today, the general manager of this institution is not with us. He has a health problem, but he sent us a video record, the Bizeydaş Incorporated. Bizeydaş is the first and highest capacity waste processing facility. It has a combustion process, has a storage facility, and it's been a business partner in the waste management for the waste producers. Muhammed Saraç is an electrical engineer at Yıldız Technical University. He's been a field and project engineer. He was an energy coordinator. And later, between 2005 and 2009, he was the assistant general manager of Bizeydaş. And since 2009, he is the general manager of Bizeydaş. Now, if our technical team is ready, Mohammed's video record, we can watch it. Esteemed participant, panelists, and audience, I salute you on behalf of my company, Bizeydaş Marmara. I would like to congratulate the Marmara Municipalities Union because of this nice meeting. Before I start, I would like to, due to the COVID pandemic, I would like to wish my condolences, and I hope the best recovery for those who are treated. And I hope that all the citizens will support one another to conform to measures. I hope that our world will not... I'm going to make a speech, not a presentation. The panelists before me gave us very satisfying information. And for those after us, for the Q&A section, I'm going to move rapidly. The heading of the session, waste is not just waste. It's an ambitious heading. But I would like to give you a few bits of information about our company, Bizeydaş. It is a participation of the Kocaeli municipality. the elimination of the waste management and the medical wastes, the ships coming into Izmit Bay, the sea cleaning, and we are doing it only for the city of Kocaeli, but as a whole, all of Turkey, the hazardous waste being turned into energy and to be eliminated in the final storage area, the waste transportation systems and energy production and our consulting services are being managed. We have 8 different management systems. Also, in Turkey, as industrial facilities, we are one of the first companies that have received a certificate for zero waste creation. We have a 2-day training in the subject of waste management, and for the awareness of the children, we have 5 storybooks, and we have books and coloring books for students in this elementary age. And the 6th book is prepared with the theme of zero waste. As a summary, as İzaydaş, we are trying to provide value from waste, not garbage. In our webpage, in our social media accounts, when life goes to normal, we can make visits and we'll tell you detailed information. I would like to talk a little bit about Kocaeli. Kocaeli has a population of close to 2 million and a square area of 2,000 square kilometers. The Izmit municipality, the Black Sea and Sapanca Lake are the natural beauties, and there's a deep history there. And the per capita income, we are number 1 in taxation. 13–14% of industrial production, 20% of foreign trade takes place in this city. There are 3,000 industrial companies. There are about 300 investors. It's at the cross-section of very important roads. And the world and the humanity is facing many environmental crisis. The problems creating the environmental crisis are global warming, increase of human population, the destruction of tropical forests, the excessive consumption of resources, soil erosion, desertification, the destruction of forests, the irresponsibly used poisonous toxic chemicals, sustainability, raw materials, water, energy, and raw materials equal sharing, and the taking of precautions for nobody to be left behind. And we are saying that it's possible to grow by consuming less of the resources. The most important resource is the sensitive balance of nature and the nature itself. The subject has started in the 1970s. Population, industrial production, food, and non-renewable resources, and the interaction between the environment have started to be shared. The founding member of our Kocaeli Chamber of Commerce has said that the secret of things is balance in the ecology. Climate in the world and everything is changing, and this change is affecting everyone. The famous cliche that we're all in the same ship, we're all on the same plane. In the subjects of environment, we need to act together. The latest natural events, climate change, pandemic requires that global union is necessary. The rethink and act together is becoming more valuable. Globally, cities should also produce solutions and cooperate with their equals in the world. This is sustainable, encompassing, resilient, and healthy. Waste, until it's created, you manage it. Once it's managed, once it's created, it manages you. Because wastes are not just wastes. we should forget the idea of elimination. Waste is now a secondary resource. We need to create a value is named as above ground mining. Life cycle analysis should be done. Consumption should be turned into recycling. In the short term, it should upset people like us, but it's beneficial to the environment. We need to convert that. We should create value from waste, not garbage. We should cooperate with competitors and create a common business. Rethink and act together is required. With our industrial conversion, we should change sweat with intelligence. For these reasons, the circular economy and waste management has an important place. The waste industry is a sustainable development, social, environmental, and it moves along the axis of green economy. For resource management, waste should be added value, and our earth should be at a perfect balance. The capital should be managed and without negatively affecting climate change. We should have growth in the green economy in order to be able to meet the requirements of the future generations. It should be a sustainable development. Sustainable development has three dimensions. These are economic, environmental, and social dimensions. We cannot distinguish these from one another. We should live as producing the least waste, and we should be stakeholders as citizens in this, and it's a homework towards the world. And we need to fulfill our requirements personally and industrially, using all the resources productively and conforming to waste hierarchy. And when fulfilling our requirements, we should suffice with what's necessary. The concept of zero waste has brought an important momentum, and nature doesn't provide waste, and from the production of waste to the last point, it should be processed with creating value. Waste gas recycling, energy compost, material recycling, packaging recycling, secondary raw materials, and different materials production options are present. In Turkey, the per capita, we are producing household garbage, yearly 30 to 32 million tons per annum. 1 ton household waste covers 1 meter cube. It needs a place that would cover 5,000 football fields. We are creating more than 2 million tons of hazardous waste. The household waste should be collected separately in order to create a zero waste environment. Household waste can be stored properly, and different and advanced technologies and new options should be created. Collecting separately at the source should be made more prevalent, and authorities should make them as priorities, and these institutions must take them into their priorities. Also, settlement areas and industrial areas, in their planning and design, waste management should be considered. In the urbanizing world, it should create a new life for everybody. Running the environment, we cannot protect the environment with just laws. Awareness and training is necessary in this area. When doing this, from sector members and volunteer persons should be benefited from. more than 95% of our industry is SMEs, and the lack of awareness creates negative conclusions. With the controller of the inspection of the industry, with the auditing of licensed companies, is very critically important. Generally, in environmental values, especially in waste, trust and responsibility is very important. Also, in infrastructure, after good training, there should be a reward and penalty system. The one who pollutes pays logic can be used for creating the economy of waste. The Turkish Environmental Agency could be a good opportunity. This agency also provides training and auditing services, and they have these plans. Generally, action-oriented functional structuring can be created. All of the financial activities can be kept under control with the effective auditing mechanism, especially in the environmental management. As a sector, we have not yet created our self-auditing mechanisms. We require guiding in the area of this auditing. Waste management, recycling management should be of strategic importance. Raw materials, energy, employment, rare metals, and it has an effect on the current deficit, especially the concept of zero waste. This opportunity has been opened. The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has said, we only have one world, but if we continue to consume in this manner, until the end of 2050, we will have consumed 3 worlds. We have one Earth, and this way, and until the end of 2050, we will have consumed 3 worlds. From the creation of waste, we have to look at everything carefully. We should have a cyclic, green industrial style should be made. This is all I have to share for now. With these thoughts, on behalf of myself and İzeydaş, I salute all of you respectfully. I hope that this forum will have beneficial outcomes.
Thank you very much, Mohammed Bey. Rethink together, react together was the motto. And from Kocaeli, we have had a speaker. And now I'm going to return to Mr. Chris Underwood. He's an engineer himself from Vancouver, from Canada. In Vancouver City, Vancouver Municipality, he's carrying on activities in the field of trash revolution. And in the first zero waste plan was developed by him in Vancouver, and he is managing the same department. And he also, North America Solid Waste Association is a part that he's involved in. The floor is yours, sir.
Thanks very much. It's a pleasure to be part of the conversation and to describe some of the work that we're doing in Vancouver. I'm going to start off. Someone do a check?
Hey, you are back.
Okay. I'm not sure what you missed. I'm sorry about that. Bad connection here. Let's advance to the next slide. Each week in Vancouver, 2.6 million disposable coffee cups are thrown away as garbage.
Chris, could you please share the screen?
Certainly. In Vancouver, 50% of food that is wasted at home is actually avoidable waste. It's from over-purchasing, not consuming food prior to expiry date, and discarding of leftovers. In Vancouver, 2.6 million disposable coffee cups are thrown away as garbage each week. We drink a lot of coffee in Vancouver. These problems are decades in the making. These aren't new problems. This is an advertisement from 1954 from out here when it was promoting the use of single-use disposable drink cups in the household. So my presentation, I'm going to give you a little bit of background in terms of the work that we do in Vancouver, the policy which is driving our work towards zero waste, and some example actions that we have underway. To give you a sense, if you've not been to Canada before, it's a very large country. This is what it looks like if it was laid over top of Turkey, and the area of the world that this is being broadcasted from. Extremely large. Vancouver is in the far western corner of the country. It's the 8th largest city in Canada and a population of about 630,000 people. We have a mix of housing type here, a mix of single-family homes in the foreground, as you can see, and multifamily residential buildings consisting of apartments, condominiums, and row houses. And that's important because the type of housing stock has an influence in how we manage waste. The services that we provide within the City of Vancouver, we focus mostly on the single-family housing stock. So there are about 100,000 properties that we service annually throughout the year. We provide organics collection and garbage collection. We pick up bins, we call them green bins, on a weekly basis, and they consist of food scraps and yard trimmings. And every other week, we pick up garbage. Our annual budget for this service is about $38 million Canadian, and it's funded through user fees. Property owners are charged annually based on the size of the cart that they use. Our primary business is in collecting organics. We have a very high diversion rate. So annually we're collecting about 50,000 tons of organic material, and which goes for composting, and then about 35,000 tons of garbage from those 100,000 properties. We also have an extensive recycling program for the residential properties. We've had that in place since 1990. In 2016, it was transferred to a provincial-wide program through a policy approach referred to as extended producer responsibility, where industry is actually funding the cost of the program rather than that cost being placed on the taxpayer. And through that program, about 32,000 tons per year of recycling material is picked up, consisting of mixed paper and containers, glass, plastic, and so forth. As I mentioned, our diversion rate is very high, the recycling rate. It's about 64%, and that's material which is kept separate for recycling or composting. So which means our disposal rate is about 36%. Now, looking at the material that is still being disposed of, there still is a lot of material that could be diverted. And the pie chart on the right of your screen shows the type of materials which are still being disposed of in the garbage. So we have two main policies which drive our work towards zero waste in Vancouver. There's a much larger area. The City of Vancouver resides within a regional district consisting of 21 municipalities, and they're responsible under provincial regulation for preparing a regional solid waste management plan, which becomes law. And that sets out expectations and requirements regarding recycling and waste diversion. In the City of Vancouver, we've also developed our own zero waste strategy, and that's what I was in charge of back in 2016 to 2018, which lays out directions and actions which the City of Vancouver is taking specifically to focus on zero waste. So very briefly, some of the main drivers with regards to our zero waste strategy. Firstly, it's a real focus on waste avoidance, reduction, and reuse. Despite our extremely high recycling rate, we realize that we can't recycle our way to zero waste. You can continue to increase the recycling rate, but you can also at the same time be increasing the amount of material that's requiring disposal. So we're finding it's important to move up the waste management hierarchy and focus on waste avoidance. It's recognized that we need to support investments in innovation, and new systems and technologies are needed in order to tackle new problems with regards to waste. We need to support a move to a circular economy. Reaching zero waste requires a different economic model. We need to focus more on reuse and sharing and local scale recycling. As a municipal government organization, we find it's imperative that we lead by example. We need to ensure that the city's practices and operations follow a zero waste approach. Our solutions require an engaged community and collaboration with all the sectors, businesses, not-for-profits, and citizens, because a city alone can't have direct control over the waste. And also, all of our initiatives need to aim for triple bottom line benefits. And that's been talked about in some of the previous presentations, that the benefits of moving towards zero waste are more than just the environmental benefits. There are social and economic benefits as well. So the remaining slides give you an example, some examples of the sort of work that we're doing to tackle waste in different areas. Reducing food waste is a real important driver for us. As Ian mentioned in his presentation, the greenhouse gas contributions of wasted food is much higher than single-use item plastics, for example. So we have a program in place, which is a Canadian-wide program modeled after the same program from the UK, Love Food, Hate Waste, which helps residents understand the importance of not throwing away food, and gives them ideas as to how to use them. We're also working with the business community and looking at ways of supporting them to have them prevent the disposal of avoidable food waste, and to rescue it and redistribute it within the system to put it in the mouths of hungry people. We have a single-use item reduction strategy. We have a ban on polystyrene foam plastic cups and foam takeout containers. We have plastic straws are now banned, other than bendable plastic straws required for individuals that have disabilities or different accessibility needs. We have a ban on disposable utensils, other than by request. We have, starting in January 1st of next year, a 25-cent fee on disposable coffee cups, and a ban on plastic shopping bags coming into place, with minimum fees on paper bags and reusable bags, so that the problem isn't just shifted over to other material types. There is a lot of waste that is generated within the Vancouver area from the building community. And so this is a standalone program where we focus on reducing demolition waste, as we refer to it as. So there are requirements for homes built prior to 1950 that 50% of the materials have to be separated and recycled, because most of that material is actually wood. Older homes which have character value, they may have nice finishings which could be salvaged and through deconstruction. There are requirements for that as well, which is driving the economy for reused materials, building materials. We have a number of programs in place to support and work with an engaged community. We have special drop events. We have repair cafes where volunteers come in and teach people how to repair clothes and how to fix small appliances instead of having them being thrown away. We have neighborhood cleanup parties, and we have mobile recycling and reuse events, because for special items which are hard to recycle or hard to manage. We're looking at how to support the private sector with innovation. We're utilizing a vacant piece of property within the city to allow technology innovators, private sector startup companies, to come in and demonstrate their technologies. This is a new program that we're partnering with our Economic Commission on, and we hope to have that up and running within the next year. We've piloted the production of biofuel from waste wood scraps, and this biofuel has been found to be suitable to replace coal and natural gas in the production of cement. So this is something else that we're hoping to to build out full scale. We find as a municipality, it's of course necessary to provide supportive infrastructure as well, including some examples here, comprehensive recycling containers on the streets, on the sidewalks and parks to allow people to properly dispose of their items which they have with them as they're moving about the city. We have a zero waste center for residents to recycle materials which aren't picked up at curbside. These are things which they may only generate at a certain frequency, like used propane tanks, fire extinguishers, electronics, textiles, books. We collect all these items for recycling. We have a very comprehensive system at our landfill, which captures the landfill gas, and we have a partnership with a local greenhouse operation where the landfill gas is utilized as renewable natural gas and run through cogeneration system to provide the heating requirements for the greenhouse. Those are just some examples, but what I want to also focus on is the benefits, the social and the economic benefits of the work that we're doing to work towards zero waste. Vancouver is one of the fastest growing cities in Canada in terms of its economy from 2010 to 2017, and that's with only about 7% of the country's population. Annually, there's a survey done to identify green jobs which support, the environmental movement, if you will. And it's we've seen a 35% increase over 2010. There's also 30% of businesses within Vancouver offer a product or service that restores or improves the environment. And while it does cost money to drive towards zero waste, we're finding that not only is it reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, but it's also helping to support an increase in our GDP. So I'm happy to take any questions. Thanks for the opportunity of presenting.
We would like to thank Mr. Underwood. What you have achieved are really very effective in Vancouver and in this Sunday morning. Thank you very much for being with us. And he has spoken about the new technologies and new systems. And the local government level, such kind of innovative solutions and developments are very crucial and it's necessary and needed. He has also mentioned about zero waste technologies and also now I would like to leave the floor at this point to Ömer Bey from Eureka company. In the field of waste management, you are providing comprehensive and also smart solutions. You do have some international and national practices. Maybe you will share it with us. So from end-to-end solutions with your technological products, you are supporting the present systems. The floor is yours, Ömer Bey.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank the MARUF organization very much. And our CEO was going to be here in this event, but due to his traveling, he wasn't able to attend. I will try to do as much as possible, my best to inform you about Eureka and why the waste management is important. As Eureka, as you mentioned, we are including all the stakeholders and we are providing a solution. And our solutions are being used in more than 40 countries such as India, Malaysia, the USA, Belgium, and Norway. We are providing a detailed analysis for our stakeholders. The first place where waste is created, this could be a citizen or companies that produce waste. So there could be municipalities, private companies. After collecting organization being run in the most efficient manner, the whole process of electronic waste being broken into its components, how many of these parts you have and where they are used. And from the point where waste is created to the final point, all of the stakeholders are informed and manage the system in the most effective manner by using the data. The use of technology was understood best with COVID, with the applications that the Ministry of Health did. We started to monitor the movements of individuals. We started to see the points that they're touching. With the least effect, we are able to overcome COVID, and with the way similar revolutions and technologies will be used. And as you mentioned today, the records should be kept. As Nilgün has mentioned, the point that will create the foundations is digitalizations. Without data, we cannot monitor performance, or without monitoring this performance, you cannot make decisions for the future. You don't know where this waste is coming. If you manage it productively, and if you recycle, and if you cannot calculate its effects, it's not possible to manage and run this system. As Evreka, for all stakeholders, citizens, drivers, people receiving reports, and the person, we want to facilitate their work. Along with this facilitation, the citizens can access the waste process, and we can have a solution that reaches all the way to the citizens. Maybe one of the most important jobs that we perform is to reduction of costs in these operations. Many of our business partners, we can reduce their mileage by 50%. The efficiency we're providing is also meaning that vehicles are used needlessly, and these vehicles can be used for collecting different resources. With our entrance into this operation, we see that even though there are not vehicles to collect the different wastes, we started to provide services for different waste. It's important for segregation at the source, and with the efficient usage of resources, it's possible to provide services at these places. There are financial effects and the unseen social effects, and the most important part that we're testing is for our citizens to achieve a clean environment, and the green labels being monitored. There are many processes. The monitoring of these processes is not possible without digitalization. The more we put digitalization into this process, we will have beneficial effects in the coming periods. As Evreka, when creating these technologies, in many countries, in many sectors, we started to attain new know-hows, and our customers and our stakeholders, we share with them, and we see the effects that we see here: industrial symbiosis, recycling project, and eco-design for packaging and production processes becoming different with the green economy. Therefore, by obtaining an important know-how using technology, we open it to our customers, and we are co-developing. I'm finishing my presentation here. If there are any questions, thank you very much, Mr. Ömer. You summarized properly. We have the final 3 minutes. Our broadcast will be closed. If you have any questions, we can take your questions within these 3 minutes. I guess there is no question coming until now. At this point, you've said it very well, the importance of data and the assessment and performance indicators of data. You've spoken about its importance. And the focus point is responsible production, responsible consumption. This is so for local governments, for citizens, for operations. In every process, we need to act with this understanding. The zero waste basis should be this understanding, both in process and in our lives. In the presentation of Chris, there was an important slide that showed that this is being advertised because these facilitate